All right, if you've blown more than a couple funded accounts this year and you haven't gotten any payouts, or maybe you've gotten payouts but you've blown more funded accounts, or maybe you get funded easily but you can't really get to the payout. You struggle to get to payouts. Don't worry. Your strategy isn't the problem, okay? And I'm going to prove that to you in the next 20 minutes. And by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly why you keep going back to zero and what to do about it. So, really quick, if you don't know who I am, my name is Lonnie. You can say I've gotten a couple payouts, okay? And not only have I gotten a couple payouts, I have shown stats. I've shown actual proof of my payouts. Now, you might see other traders showing their payouts, but they'll never show you their statistics, right? Their stats to how they got the payout. But the cool thing about me is that I show every single thing, okay? Even with these two $40,000 payouts that I got, I live streamed the whole thing. Every entry, every exit, everything was streamed. And guess what? I also showed the stats for that. Okay, so you could trust me, okay? Before we dive into the video, I just closed my first one-on-one mentorship and the spots filled up fast. For those who don't know, Uplift Trading Academy is a 90-day program where I work with you personally. You get my exact trading system, weekly private one-on-one calls, me reviewing your trades, and 24/7 access to me until you're pulling a consistent 5K months with prop firms. It's not a course, it's not a Discord, it's me in your corner until we make it happen. We just closed the doors to the first group, but if you want to be first in line when we reopen, get on the wait list now. Waitlist members get notified first the moment spots open up. They also get access to a discounted price that won't be available for anyone else. And just like this first group, spots are going to be limited. So if you've been watching me trade every morning and you're wondering how to finally make it work for you, this is your next step. The link is in the description. It takes 2 minutes to fill out the application. Not too long ago, I was actually stocking groceries overnight and I was trading on 2 hours of sleep. Okay, the thing that changed was not my strategy. I actually still have the same strategy that I used when I was working at this job I didn't like. Okay, the thing that changed was what I'm about to show you right now. And real quick, before I get into that, I want to talk about this loop that I like to call the stuck in the matrix loop. Okay, you might have a different name for it, but I'm going to explain what this loop is really quick. So basically, you get a combine, you're locked in, right? You're so locked in that you actually get funded. And you might even get funded by full porting the account, but that doesn't matter because you got funded, so it worked out. In the funded account, everything's going good, right? It might go good for a day or two, maybe even a week, and you feel like you got everything figured out. You feel like Tony Stark when he's working, okay? And then you take that one loss, okay? And this loss is, maybe it's a small loss, or maybe it's a big unplanned loss. Either way, this just triggers something in you that makes you feel very upset. It upsets you very much, and you end up over trading, of course, over leveraging. You go through an emotional roller coaster where you're just also like buy, sell. And then you're up, and then you're green, and then you're red, and you're down. And it's like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And then the next day, you say, you know what? Tomorrow I'm going to stick to the plan. And you try to get funded again. And while you're trying to get funded again, you actually try to learn a new strategy, okay? And you've actually probably repeated this about more than 4 times. Okay, if 6 months have passed by and you're stuck in this loop, and you've tried to learn 4 new strategies, trust me, you're stuck in the matrix. Okay? So if you've related to even one part of that, stay with me, okay? Because I just described the exact loop that I was stuck in for almost a year, maybe even over a year, right? And the reason I got out of that loop wasn't what you think, okay? Now, you might think your problem is one of these things, right? You might think your entries aren't clean enough, or you need better confirmation, or you need to find the right strategy, or you need to journal more, or you need to find the right indicator combo. And before you know it, your chart looks like this. It looks very complicated, a lot of things that need to get annotated and analyzed, and it's very confusing. And then when you go at night, you're looking like this, right? And you're overthinking so much about, what's actually wrong. Is it your strategy? Is your confirmation? I need to do this. I need to do that. None of that is the real problem, though, right? You already know enough. I think if you've been trading for more than 6 months and you've been funded once, I think you know enough, okay? Especially if you've gotten funded by using a specific strategy and you're trading a certain way. I think you know enough. Especially if you've already been through multiple strategies. I think you know enough, okay? So the information isn't the gap, right? In order to go from here to here, the gap of this bridge is not more information, okay? The gap is that you cannot sit still long enough to let your strategy work. You take trades you said you wouldn't take, you size up when you said you wouldn't, you hold losers when you've decided the market is wrong and you're still right, so you put your stop loss a little bit lower and lower. You revenge trade because you can't accept a red day. That's a big one. Or not even revenge trade, but some of the time is you get too greedy, right? I should have put that in here. It's like you have a green day, but then it's like you turn into a red day. And that's a huge mistake I used to do. But yeah, you break your own rules and then act surprised when you blow your account. So in reality, the real gap, in order to go from this to this, is execution, right? I think you already have enough information. So strategy is not your problem. Execution is. And here's the thing, nobody selling you a course wants to tell you. You cannot fix execution by buying more strategy. You fix execution by becoming a different person at the screen. And that's what I'm about to walk you through. So I call this the clean execution method. And you can use this to go from this to this, right? And I really like this because this is when Jeff had his rich laugh. And I don't know, when you get to a certain point, it's like you could have a stupid ass laugh and it'll just sound rich, okay? I'm not rich yet, but I do have a rich laugh. I'm not gonna lie. And then when you're getting all these payouts and different payout certificates, you're gonna collect them like Thanos collects his stones. Okay, anyways, let's talk about part 1, right? Because this whole bridge, I split it up into 3, okay? Part 1, honestly, I think this is one of the most important parts. Let me make my face smaller so you can really see what I'm talking about here. Okay, so part 1 is the pre-market state. I think this is one of the most important parts of the video. You might disagree, but every time I've made the most amount of money, I cannot agree more with this. Anyways, so your state at 9:30 a.m. is decided by what you did from 5 p.m. yesterday until 9:29 this morning, not by the chart. Okay, and this time really depends on where you live. Right now I'm in New York, so that's why it's 9:30. If you don't know what 9:30 is New York open, okay? That's a time where everything's supposed to get crazy and everyone's trading, everyone's putting in money. And anytime I make the most amount of money from trading, my morning routine is locked in. There's no question about it. I promise. For example, my first 20K month, this is a video you could watch on my YouTube channel. My first 20K month, I was fasting for most of the day. I was eating one clean meal. I was praying and meditating every single morning before the chart. I was going over my plan, my trading plan before I even showed up to the charts. So the chart was the easy part, right? The hard part was making sure the version of me who showed up to the chart was the right version, okay? Maybe the right version is not the right word, right? Maybe it's the right headspace, right? The right mindset. And the way I did that, the way I showed up to the charts with the right mindset, it all started from the day before, right? I was preparing to go to bed. I was journaling. That was a big one. I was journaling. I was writing a lot. And then before the charts, I was barely on my phone. I would work out before. I was meditating, praying. And actually, this year, I've gotten two $40,000 payouts. And when I got these two $40,000 payouts, my morning routine was very locked in. I mean, I was like this guy right here, right? If you know, you know. I'm sorry, I don't know what I'm saying. But anyways, my morning routine was very locked in, and it's nothing crazy, right? It's not like I was cold plunging every single morning. I'd go. Let me go over my morning routine, right? So I'd wake up pretty early on in the morning. I'd go to the gym. After the gym, I'd go in the sauna. I'd pray and meditate in the sauna. When I got home, I'd shower, get ready for the charts, and then I'd go over my plan. Once I finished trading later in the day, I would journal, and it was very locked in. But specifically, it's very locked in the morning, and I feel like I would just prepare myself for the charts, prepare my mindset for the charts, and I think that's very important. And if you don't believe me, maybe you should believe Mark Douglas on why a morning routine actually matters, okay? If you don't know who Mark Douglas is, he is the legendary trading psychologist and author of Trading in the Zone, which is one of the most widely read trading books ever written. Okay, so if you don't want to listen to me, maybe you should listen to him, right? His core argument throughout the book is simple. Markets generate endless uncertainty, and the only thing a trader can control is their own mindset walking in. And the morning routine is what builds that mindset before the first tick prints, okay, before the market opens up. Or, as Douglas puts it more bluntly, if you can learn to create a state of mind that is not affected by the market's behavior, the struggle will cease to exist. Another way of putting this quote, I would say, is like, if you don't let a loser affect you, struggle ceases to exist, right? But anyways, that state of mind does not appear by accident when the market opens up, right? It's built every morning through reviewing your plan, checking your bias, whatever it is, reminding yourself that any single trade is just one of the next 1,000, right? That's why pros treat the pre-market hour sacred. It's where the trader is prepared, not just the trades. And honestly, I don't read books, but I've heard a lot about this book. I've heard a lot of traders that read this book and they really enjoyed it. But yeah, this is just a good point. If you don't believe me about the morning routine, maybe you can believe Mark Douglas. He knows a lot more than me. Another thing about the morning routine is something called the cortisol awakening response. Okay, if you don't know what it is a distinct 38 to 75% rise in cortisol levels. Cortisol is the stress hormone, okay? And it occurs 30 to 45 minutes after waking to prepare the body for daily demands. It is part of the normal circadian rhythm, peaking around 30 minutes post waking, though it can remain elevated for an hour. Okay? And this is just something I got from Google, right? So why is this cortisol awakening response important? Well, it can cause traders to feel high anxiety and make impulsive emotional decisions if not managed, right? A high CAR can lead to fear-based trading, such as hesitating on good setups or premature panicking exits, as noted by funding pips and discussions on Reddit. Okay, cool. I got that from Google. Okay. And then another thing I got from Google was key strategies to avoid this cortisol awakening response, right? So how to bring your cortisol back down so you could trade without that whole stress hormone spike. Okay? So key strategies include avoiding immediate phone and email usage. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I do struggle with this myself. I've always had, okay? I sleep right next to my phone. I mean, when I check the time, I check my phone. And then when I check my phone, I see my notifications. And then when I see my notifications, I either wake up to some money or some bullshit and then I need to check it, right? Or somehow I start scrolling on social media. So another strategy to, avoid this is delaying caffeine intake by, 60 to 90 minutes. I think that's pretty easy to do unless you're a caffeine addict. I know a couple caffeine addicts. I mean, this is off topic, but caffeine addiction is pretty serious. I think it's like one of the biggest drugs people use. People don't think it's a drug, but it is a drug, right? It's a stimulant. And it's a serious addiction, right? I mean, if you know someone that's a caffeine addict, if they don't have caffeine, like an hour after they wake up, they get a headache and then they start, complaining and stuff, and it's serious. So yeah, anyways, that's a random thing. Anyways, getting sunlight exposure could help you with this, and I think that makes sense. We've all heard that. And practicing morning meditation or deep breathing. Okay, now I got this quote here without even mentioning trading to Google. It just told me this. Okay, so why not take advantage of meditation and deep breathing? Probably because you think it's a waste of time. But I mean, this proves it right here. It could help you actually trade better in a way, yeah. It could give you an advantage. Let's talk about part 2 of the execution method, right? This is called the one setup rule. It's pretty self-explanatory, right? You need to know what your one setup is, right? Or your multiple setups. Let me make this bigger here. My face cam here. Boop. Okay. So you need to know what your one setup is, what it has to look like in order for you to take it, what disqualifies it, so what it has to look like in order for you not to take it, the rule about how many times per day you should take it. Are you going to take your setup 1 to 3 times or more or less, right? You need to know very specifically how many times you could take your setup, or even what time frame to take your setup. Right? That's a big one. And then also what you need to do when you don't see the setup. The answer to that should be nothing. If you don't see your setup, you shouldn't really do anything. Right? Let me move this down again. This is like a bad spot. Okay, boom. And a quick reminder, right? A setup you take 30 times a day is not a setup. It's just a feeling. Oh my gosh, a green candle, let me take long. That's not a setup, okay? A setup you take 1 to 3 times a day is actually a system, and that's pretty good. And I talk about system more on my last video, so if you're interested in that, go check that out. Part 3 is the loss protocol. I built this little, is this a diagram? I'm not sure. I built this little cycle thing here, which I call the emotional cycle. And this is also in my last video, which you could check out. I go more in depth into this. But basically, this emotional cycle, it always starts from taking a loss, right? Either you planned the loss, or you didn't plan the loss, or the loss was bigger than expected, so it triggers you, and then you go into this whole emotional thing. And you need to avoid this, right? You need to avoid this emotional cycle, because going through the cycle means you're blowing accounts. If you're blowing accounts and you're going on tilt, you're losing money. There's no doubt about it, right? So you need to know what you do after a red trade, and specifically the next 90 seconds after taking that loss. That's what matters the most, right? And I also searched this up here. It's called the 90-second rule. This was popularized by Dr. Jill Bolt Taylor. Don't know, just popped up on Google. Okay, and this suggests that the psychological lifespan of an emotion, the chemical surge, peak, and flush out of the body, lasts only 90 seconds. If an emotion persists longer, it is because thoughts are continuously re-triggering it, according to Psychology Today. And I'm pretty sure there's also a 90-second rule when it comes to certain urges, right? If you have the urge to do something, you shouldn't do, wait 90 seconds, because that's basically all the time that you need to kind of avoid that bad mistake. And I think this is really important. When I was pretty unprofitable, something that I would do is, after taking a loss, I'd get right back into another trade. But then when I changed it to, okay, if I take a loss, I'm going to wait for this 5-minute candle to close. Once I changed that, then it helped me avoid taking another dumb loss. So it's just something to keep in mind. Something this small could honestly change your trading for the better. Another thing about this loss protocol is the rule about whether you're allowed to take another trade after a loss. Some traders have a rule where after a loss, either they have to wait a certain amount of time or they're done, right? Another thing is your daily loss limit and what happens if you hit it. If you hit your daily loss limit, why are you going to keep trading? What's the point of having a daily loss limit if you're not going to follow it, right? So if you hit your daily loss limit, you should stop, period, right? Not you should stop for an hour. You should stop for the day if you hit your daily loss limit. Some people create daily loss limits, and then once they hit it, it's like a warning. That shouldn't be the case. Once you hit your daily loss limit, that's when you should call it a day. It shouldn't be like, okay, I'm going to be careful now. I'm going to take this one serious. No, it shouldn't be like that. Once you hit your daily loss limit, you have to stop. And if that's hard for you, it should be hard, right? That's the hard part of trading, is accepting losses. So if you struggle with accepting a daily loss limit, ask yourself, how many times have you actually accepted a daily loss limit? If you say a pretty low number, right? If you I only accepted my daily loss limit once or twice, that's why it's hard for you, right? Because you haven't practiced that muscle of accepting it. So it's just about practicing. And trust me, it sucks, right? Right now, when I hit my daily loss limit, okay, damn, that sucks, but all right. Before, it was like, oh my gosh, like I hit my daily loss limit, and then it'd be like a snowball that just gets bigger and bigger, right? So what really helps is having a mental shift that a red trade is data and not an attack on you, right? And in reality, if you take a loss, in reality, this is how it actually is, right? It feels like a very huge loss, but if you just accept that loss, it'll be something like this, right? And this is the loss. that upsets you in reality. It's a very small compared to like to where you zoomed out, you know? And then also, most accounts don't blow on one bad trade. They blow on the eighth trade after the first bad trade. And I just gave you the framework. Okay, it was 3 parts, right? The pre-market state, the one setup rule, and the loss protocol. You understand it now, hopefully. It's really not that complicated. And it has nothing to do with strategy, right? You could have a really good strategy, and then if you combine it with this, then you can turn into this, right? It's that simple. I promise you, it's not complicated. So here's what's gonna happen next, right? Tomorrow morning, you're gonna wake up. You might do some of this, right? Maybe you'll even skip the doom scrolling before the opening. Maybe you'll wait for one setup. Maybe you'll respect your daily loss limit. Maybe. And then on day 3 or day 5, or the first time you take 2 losses in a row, your brain is going to start making excuses, right? The voice in your head is going to say, oh, just one more time. You can make it back. You can make it back. Just one more trade. And you're going to break the rule. And then you're going to be like this. Right? You're back on your bullshit. Just like that. And that's not because the framework is wrong. Right? The framework works. I used to go from blowing accounts on 2 hours of sleep to 240K payouts in 2 months. Trust me, the framework works. Right? The hard part is understanding it. The hard part is not being the version of yourself who breaks it. Being the version of yourself that is unprofitable, that's the gap that keeps you stuck in the loop. So basically, I want you to be the version of yourself that deserves that payout. So being the version of yourself that deserves that payout, that is execution. That is the gap of, the bridge in order to go from here to here. It's really that simple. And also, before I end the video, I want to say that if you feel like trading, keep trading, right? What am I saying? If you feel like quitting trading, keep trading, because 90% of traders fail because they quit, right? You can never fail if you never quit, right? So I know it's very simple, but the way I think about it is like, okay, if I struggle with executing certain things, then I just need to start practicing it. That way I like exercise that muscle, right? Like I said earlier about the daily loss limit. If you struggle with daily loss limit, you probably haven't accepted daily loss limits ever, right? Haven't given yourself enough time, enough tries to be good at it. So I hope this video helped out. I really like these, how do I call it? Presentation videos. Someone asked me if AI did this. And all I have to say to that is, you think AI put these memes on here? No, that was me. Okay, that was all me. I love these presentations because I'm able to put whatever I want. But yeah, that's the way I think about like getting from here to here. It's really just like these 3 simple things and then just having a good strategy. But the issue is, a lot of you guys think you need more information, right? You need a better strategy. That's like the main issues I see. But in reality, your main issue is execution, right? You're not doing the things that you said you would. That's the main issue. And again, if you struggle with that, start off slowly, build that muscle, and then you'll get better at it. There's really no secret to this, I promise you. But anyways, yeah, keep it going. If you show up every day, you might get lucky. And that's all I gotta say. Oh, another thing, if this hit, leave a comment on where you're stuck. What's your main issue? I want to keep doing these presentations. I really enjoy making them, maybe a bit too much. If you want to see me trade live every day, you can. I trade live on YouTube every single morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. I am not the most perfect trader. I'm not, but I am a consistent, real trader. And yeah, if you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. We're almost at 10,000 subscribers, which is insane. So thank you guys. I love you guys. And thank you for watching.